Hello, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between. Welcome back to the Noiseberry Games channel. Today we're going to be looking at my top 5 games of 2021. Now, we just went over John's previously, whether that's yesterday or another day. We'll find out when it gets uploaded. John.
You're welcome.
Wow. Wow. The sass continues.
I don't know, that's too far ahead to plan.
Alright. Well, because John can't plan anything out and I wrote everything down properly for my list, let's get started here with number 5. I put on here Outriders. Now, to me, I only played Outriders, like, completely solo with no one else, and I only got about halfway through the game. I got to the point of, I think it's like the second major boss fight. Then, like, don't get me wrong, I like the game, it's enjoyable. I would have liked it a lot more with other people. Because it's very, not necessarily, it's MMO light. Kind of like Destiny was, where it encouraged you to play with other people. You know, you're encouraged to play different classes and make up for each other's shortcomings. But I don't know, I still had a fun time solo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't that like the Square Enix Destiny knockoff?
Kind of, yeah.
I thought people really didn't like that one.
It's got mixed reviews.
Okay. Fair enough, as long as you liked it.
Well, I mean, I played it on Game Pass. I'm going to shill for Game Pass again in this video like I did last year.
Shill!
Like,
that's fine. It's
not a game I would pay for, you know,
right.
By itself, but it's a game I'm happy to have played.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Like, and again, if I played with, like, you and Chris or some of my buddies, I think I could have beaten the game and been happy with it.
Yeah.
But solo, like, there's a limit to how much fun you can have with it solo.
Yeah, like, I always, like, kind of look at Destiny like, oh, I wouldn't mind, like, playing that, but I just don't think it would be good solo, so I hear where you're coming from.
It can get a bit grindy, for sure, and especially the boss fights, which are designed for have multiple people, like, you know, you have your tank, you have your healer, and then you have your DPS. When you're not able to properly fill those roles, it gets a little tedious, mostly in the boss fights. Like, the day-to-day combat, not bad. The missions, they're okay. It's what you'd expect out of a game like this. But the boss fights just do start to get a bit tedious.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not really my kind of game at all. So you were on your own for this one.
As I am for almost everything.
Yeah, we have different games now.
Yeah, I feel like we're drifting apart.
No.
Speaking of drifting apart, number 4 is a game called Going Under. Now, this was a weird indie game that caught my attention on, again, Game Pass. About, how do I describe this? You play as an intern for a tech company startup where you adventure into dungeons that are other startup companies. But they're riffs on, like, Tinder, Bitcoin. So each dungeon has 4 little levels you have to get to and then a boss at the end. All focus around different aspects of toxic workplace culture. Like, there's one that you fight the Joblins. They're goblins in little, like, suit and ties. They're very cute.
Right.
But their whole thing is, like, they drink coffee and it's nothing, like, it's productivity, it's synergy, it's all those little buzzwords that your boss throws at you that mean absolutely nothing to them. But it's the idea that you have to be productive every single second of every single day, and they just run themselves into the ground. Like, I was surprised they didn't see cocaine on some of their desks, but like, it's meant to satirize the culture, right? And then the third dungeon is satirizing Tinder and just how the toxic workplace culture around sexual harassment and, you know, staying silent about that kind of thing. It's
Jesus.
It's a surprisingly heavy game with very light visuals, if that helps.
Wow.
So, like, you're fighting floating succubus, like, you know, a woman dressed in rather attractive business attire, but she's got devil wings. You know, it's the very, like, Lilith succubus kind of a thing going on. And this is all framed inside of a roguelite dungeon crawler. So you talk to your coworkers at this company, and you start to find out little tidbits about them, you know, about their personal lives. They give you boosts or different abilities you can equip inside the dungeon to give you different bonuses. You find weapons and other things inside the dungeon as well, like you can use a flaming sword or you can use a keyboard. The keyboard has a lot less durability, but it's trying to integrate, you know, typical dungeon things with the business culture.
Mhm.
And one of the funny things is you can get business cards that will trap an enemy, and that's how you fill out your quote-unquote codex, is you get their business card.
That's awesome.
So it's a great riff on a lot of the really toxic workplace behaviors that we've seen from a lot of companies, regardless of what field they're in, but really focusing on small indie startups and the core problems and just how far people can stray from what their initial goal was.
Man, that's awesome. That's one of 3 Game Pass games I have installed, so it is actually on my list to play.
It's so good. It is so interesting because you work at a company that makes these weird flavored drinks, but you're an unpaid intern and you're trying to get paid. It's man, it's wild. And like the more you learn about these characters and the relationships that they have with each other, you're like, oh my god, what is happening?
That sounds good. I will do my best to play it before my subscription runs out.
It was very much like the kind of came out of nowhere hit for me.
Okay. Yeah, it does stand out. It does look appealing.
It is very, very interesting. Number 3 for me is similar to one John mentioned in his video. Nostalgia does play a hefty factor in this, I'm not gonna lie. It is Pokemon Shining Pearl.
Oh, okay.
I loved the Pokemon series as a kid. I stopped playing in Diamond and Pearl, so for me, this was I played Sword and Shield, but this was like me going back to my childhood. Admittedly, I hate the fact they kept fairy types. I hate the fact they kept modern mechanics. I like the art style, I like the little chibi characters walking around. I like a lot of the stuff that they've done with it. Again, nostalgia is a big factor for me on this one, but it's also a way for me to play a Pokemon game with Kat because she's barely ever played any of them. So it's a way for us to connect.
That's nice. Did you say you hated the modern stuff?
I hate some of the modern things, like the fact they retroactively, quote unquote, retroactively put them into this game. Like the fact that there's fairy types.
Interesting.
Because like, for me, I get it's a balance thing. I get they were trying to make a lot more Pokemon viable with the different mechanics they've added over time and the different typings that they've added. But it's just, I'm not a purist, but I would have liked just the original game with updated graphics. I get that wouldn't justify, and as it stands right now, I don't think it justifies a full-priced game.
Agreed.
But that's kind of what I was hoping for when it was announced.
Interesting. Yeah, I think in hindsight, this is about what I wanted from it.
Fair enough. I think what they've done with the Underground is fantastic, though. I love the Underground.
Yeah, that's fun. That's cool.
They've added a lot of great things, don't get me wrong. It's just some of the more combat-oriented mechanics I'm a little iffy on, just because it really makes it a lot easier in some regards, especially to go up against Cynthia, for example, having the addition of fairy types. Because now I no longer need to worry about getting one of like the 5 ice types in the game, or having to take a dragon against a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You just had to buy an Ice Beam TM and you were good for any dragon trainer, pretty much.
That's true.
But yeah, I don't know. Dragons were just kind of boring before they added fairy, in my opinion. It gets a bit more interesting with them now.
I think they should have just balanced dragon properly from the beginning and would have been a lot more interesting.
Yes, they should have, but dragons always have to be the cool type, you know?
Do they, though?
That's what people think. I don't know. I'd never really went for dragons.
Alright.
Yeah. What do you think about no HMs?
As sadistic as this is gonna sound, I really enjoyed having Bidoof be my HM slave.
God, you really are just like a purist.
Listen, man, Bidoof was there for one reason and one reason only. That was to have the first 4 HMs, and then you caught a secondary Bidoof to have the last HMs that you could have on it.
Yeah, honestly. And it was the worst, because you would have this shitty little
Fly
beaver.
on the one flying Pokemon that you actually cared about, and then you never used Fly in combat because it was just not worth it whatsoever.
Yeah, Fly was okay.
Fly was meh.
Yeah. Well, God, it sounds like you should have just played the originals again.
I don't have a handheld, man.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
I wish I did. If I did, I absolutely would have gone back to play the handhelds, because, like, Emerald to me is the best Pokemon game.
Right.
Now, I couldn't tell you why I feel that way. It's, to me, my favorite Pokemon game, personally. And the fact that we got Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, but nothing nothing for Emerald is, in my opinion, fucking criminal. So I will take Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and I will roll with it.
Fair. I mean, I think you'd probably like Alpha Sapphire or whatever.
Kat owns Alpha Sapphire. I've tried it a little bit, but not too much.
Okay. I think you'd probably like it, but you'll probably need a break after this one.
Yeah, so yeah, again, based on nostalgia and my drought recently outside of Sword and Shield of Pokemon games, I'm putting it at number 3.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Number 2 is actually one that I have done a video on, though I'm not 100% proud of that video. It's gonna be Slormancer.
Ah, there it is.
You knew it was coming, because obviously I made
Knew
a video
that was
on
coming.
Yeah,
you played it a lot.
Slormancer is kind of like Diablo Light, I guess. It's the version of Diablo that goes, I heard you like some progression mechanics, so I put a shit ton of progression mechanics inside your progression mechanics and took away most of the loot. Which to some people is like, nah, done, fuck it, out of here, get out of my face. But to me was like, they've refined the weapons down to currently 30 for each character, but there will, on full release, be 150 for each character.
Damn.
And you're able to, unlock more weapons, level them up, and evolve them into new forms, which I really enjoy. You can refine the equipment any way you want to, meaning you can change the stat percentages, what it's boosting, how much defense it gives you, other stats like that, so you can really create the character however you want to without endlessly hunting for that one piece of gear that everyone's going to have.
Right. I like that.
It is entirely single player right now. That, again, may turn some people off. I quite enjoy it. It, to me, is a great podcast game. Turn down the music, though it is good music, don't get me wrong. Put on a podcast or something, play the tower for half an hour, like you said, when you come home after work. You don't want something super stressful. Grind out some levels, then, put it down. You grind out a little bit of material, maybe you swap out some gear, and then you're just like, all right, cool, I'll come back to it later. I currently have, let me see here. I currently have 66.6 hours. That was not intentional.
Whoa. That's amazing. You can never play this game again now.
No, I have to leave it at that.
Jeez, unless you can get another 6,000 in there.
Which, honestly, I might.
Whoa.
Because here's the thing, it is a very early access game. It came out in April, but it's made by a team of 2 people, and they're very much new to the industry in the sense that they've promised big, but haven't been delivering at the pace that they were initially hoping to.
Oh.
Now, I was super hyped when I saw that roadmap and being like, oh, sick, it'll only take, a year and a half, or they didn't have an exact time frame, but, it was, you kind of got that feeling based on where their initial goals were. They have been slower to release those than they would have liked, than I would have liked, but they've also been rebalancing the game a lot to try to take out a lot of the grind, because they put out a little news blurb thing every month called the Slormite Chronicles. They have talked constantly about the fact that it is way grindier than they wanted it to be, so they're working on slowing down the updates but rebalancing what the content that is there, so that it's a lot less grindy and a lot closer to what they actually want it to be for people.
Right.
Now, admittedly, the first act of the campaign is the slowest. It does drag on for a bit. It's only 16 short levels, but it doesn't give you a proper feel for the game. So if you are going to play this, get through Act 1, go do the tower, go do the dungeon runs, start unlocking villagers, because you unlock villagers, which gives you more mechanics like the shop, the blacksmith, things like that. The game really comes into its own after about probably the 3-hour mark, when you're finally able to engage with the rest of it. And, pick your class, pick the mage, the knight, or the archer. You can swap between them at, in between any level, figure out what you like. And the nice thing about it is each class has one of 3 main skills to choose from, and then they have 8 secondary skills that you unlock as you level up the class. But then within those 8 secondary skills is another 6 lines of additional modifiers and buffs to that skill that you unlock as you level the skill. So, for instance, if I have a skill that just shoots arrows, like on my archer, I have a skill that lets me shoot multiple arrows, but then I have a modifier on that skill that lets those arrows branch off into more arrows once it hits an enemy, that also poisons them, and my main skill is to drop a turret down that just shoots arrows for me, but when I'm close to the turret, it gains all the abilities that I have. So now it's shooting 2 arrows, those arrows break into more arrows when they hit an enemy, and poison them, and then they get more damage because I have a skill that increases my damage to poisoned enemies. That's
amazing.
And it allows for some of the most personalized play that I've ever seen. In terms of skill and equipment and playing, to use the PR spin, play the way you want.
Right.
You actually can. You can decide, hey, I want to shoot 5,000 arrows at once, or I want to use this one skill that just lets me shoot one giant arrow across the map and kill everyone.
I do like the sound of that, especially like play like you want. That's how I like playing games.
I mean, we've all heard the PR spin. This lets you do it. Again, without hunting for equipment, you just need to re-roll till you get the stats that you want and the percentages that you want, and then you just lock them in. Easy as that. Alright, moving on to honorable mentions. I'm going to have to start with another podcast game, and that is Power Wash Simulator.
Okay.
I don't know why I've fallen in love with this game, outside of, again, it just being something simple, something easy to come home to, and just popping on a YouTube video, popping on a podcast, popping on the Noise Bear Games channel.
Nice.
And just, even before I had 2 monitors, because I only got my second monitor recently, just keeping that on in the background and just cleaning stuff. Like, I'm not the most unclean, I'm not the most clean person in terms of, like, my house. I bathe every day, I shower every day, I can't leave the house without having a shower, I feel disgusting.
Well done.
But, I don't clean the house as much as I should. So, to just be able to, like, wave my mouse around and suddenly dirt's gone, things are clean, just feels good. It's just something, not necessarily cathartic about it, but something enjoyable about it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Just some simulator games just really tick your boxes and you just get stuck into them.
And there's so many simulator games, I'm like, I don't feel like engaging with all these mechanics, I don't feel like doing all this complicated shit, and here I'm just like, water make things go clean.
Yeah, honestly, fair enough.
There's no other way to put it outside of water cleans things, like, end of story.
Yeah, totally.
For my next honorable mention, I also only have 2. Is going to be one that kind of took me by surprise, is Curse of the Dead Gods. So this is another roguelike similar to Hades that I tried early on in the year that I quite enjoyed because it was an interesting give and take system to me. So as the name implies, there are curses of gods who have no longer exist. Now the thing is, you can choose to progress through the map or through each area slowly. It's kind of like Slay the Spire.
Slay the Spire, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got that kind of map system where you select where you want to go next. But you can also activate curse doors, which will give you a curse in exchange for power. But if you accumulate 5 curses, that's just the end of the run, you're dead. So you have to find fountains that remove curse energy, but that you still keep the buff. If you want to play it that way.
Oh, okay.
And before each boss door is a curse door, so you have no choice but to take 1 curse before hitting a boss.
Oh, right, okay.
I do also want to throw in a semi-honorable mention that has not come out yet technically, but will be releasing this year.
Wait, what?
And funny enough, I was pre-installing it while we were recording this video.
Oh, okay.
That's the Halo Infinite campaign. I'm really curious to try it. I was absolutely an Xbox kid growing up, so Halo was my jam. I didn't like Halo 4. Never played Halo 5 because 343 has not done well by me. But I'm willing to try Halo Infinite because it looks like a return to form to what Bungie had started. So I'm going to put it as an honorable mention for now, because again, has not released at the time of this recording. When this video releases, as long as I've had a chance to play enough Halo, I will revise the list in the comment section.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough.
So again, I want to throw that out there for anyone who's like, oh, you didn't mention Halo. Well, it's not even out, dude. How am I supposed to... Also, I'm not a multiplayer fan. I don't like multiplayer shooters. They're not my thing. So I have not tried the Halo multiplayer. I'm sure it's great. It looks like fun. Just not my cup of tea.
Just not for you, yeah.
Do you want to take a guess as to my number 1, John?
I've been trying to think, and honestly, like, I'm sure like you'll say it, and I'll be like, yeah, but I can't think of it right now.
It is actually 3 games for the price of 1. It's the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Technically, it's Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, but because it's sold as one game, I'm counting it as one game. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition is just such a well done version of, at the very least, Mass Effect 1. It modernizes a lot of the mechanics, so they're a lot easier for someone like me who's never played the first one to just, come to terms with. It was like you playing Dead Space, John. You couldn't get to terms with the mechanics, you didn't like it. But if it had the smooth
game.
If it had the smooth combat flow of Dead Space 3, it might have been easier to wrap your head around, regardless of other mechanics.
Yeah, it was just so clunky.
So, and that's the thing, Mass Effect 1 was also very clunky when it came out, but this was reworked for a more modern audience with things that people could recognize and get their heads around and actually enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. Like, mechanically, it felt a lot smoother and like a modern game.
Mm-hmm. So I currently have 115.9 hours in it because I did 115 because I did a full playthrough of each game, and I'm now working on my insanity run of each game.
Jesus
just
Christ!
To finish up the last few achievements that I'm missing.
Wow. Did you get it on Steam out of interest?
I did get it on Steam.
Okay.
Because I said, you know what, this one's worth buying. I bought it day one, played the shit out of it.
Fair enough. Yeah, people really like Mass Effect.
I'm missing 9 achievements, 2 of which are just completing the game on Insanity.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just working on cleaning up the rest of my achievements, and then I'm all done.
Nice.
But yes, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I plan to keep playing it later on probably early next year to finish up the rest of the achievements, but it's been one of the games that was like, I just got sucked in for hours on end.
Yeah, like, if you like sci-fi, it is definitely like...
That's the thing, I don't normally like sci-fi.
Really?
I'm way more of a fantasy guy. Like, Dragon Age was always my BioWare franchise, but I always liked Mass Effect. I was never that big into Star Wars or Star Trek. I know it's blasphemous to say, but Mass Effect to me was one of the few sci-fi settings that I could stomach.
Interesting. I think it's because like
you got to fuck aliens.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Hey man, carrying Liara's romance through Mass Effect 1, like to the end of 3, that shit hurts. That shit hurts a lot. Have you ever played Mass Effect, John? I assumed you had, so that's why I said you have memories of it.
I played it this year and stopped playing it after about 4 hours.
What?
I thought it was dreadful.
What? Did you play Legendary Edition? Did you play just like the regular version?
No Legendary Edition, that's why I tried it. It's just not for me, man.
Admittedly, I started with Mass Effect 2 as a kid, and then I played 2 and 3. So, like, to me, part of the appeal was being able to play 1 in a modern context. It is available on Steam as a standalone, but again, the clunkiness of the mechanics, and not having grown up with that, to me would just be very off-putting. So having that modernized and be much easier to handle was a huge draw for me.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think if you are interested in playing the games, then yeah, like obviously go for the more modern version. It just wasn't enough for me.
And plus too, you get Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3 all for $80 Canadian, 60 US. Like, that is a great deal.
Yeah, it's a very good deal.
The fact they didn't just jack up the prices because like, oh, 3 games we should sell for like, $120. No, they're like, it's their older games. They didn't do too much, especially to 2 and 3. You're basically buying it for a better version of Mass Effect 1, but also so you don't have to kind of screw around with the save files because they don't have Mass Effect 3 on Steam.
Right, yeah.
So you'd have to you could buy Mass Effects 1 and 2 on Steam, but then you have to screw around with your save file, play 3 somewhere else, but still try to import the same character. It was just a mess.
Yeah, so it is nice that...
Yeah, another draw of the edition is having 3 just as a version on Steam.
Yeah, and like your persistent character goes through all 3 games. It's very cool.
Like you feel when Shepard makes a decision, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna punch that reporter bitch in the face, and I'm gonna enjoy it, and I'm gonna do it 3 times in a row.
Yeah, fuck her.
But I still can't bring myself to do a renegade run as much as I want to.
What's that? Is that a bad guy?
That's being nothing but bad guy.
Oh, nice. In effect, that sounds very difficult.
In the first game, the renegade run just means you're a space racist.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's very morally questionable.
Yikes.
So anyway, that was my very long, rambly list that I'm sure will need to be edited down heavily.
A little bit, maybe.
Please leave your games of the year in the comments down below if you didn't already on John's video. I would love to see them
Do
all.
them both.
I will react and comment on all of them as to my opinions, whether or not I've played them. Suggest games for us to play. We'd love to make more videos in the future. And I would like to take this time to announce that at some point in early 2022, I will be coming out with my own channel, the Noiseberry Table, where I'll be having a number of video essays and Let's Plays of just me and maybe some of my friends. John may or may not be there. Who knows? He's kind of an asshole.
Who knows? Yeah.
I'm really excited to take on this venture. You know, I've been inspired by John a lot and what he's just had me involved with. You know, like, to me, the idea of a YouTube channel was always this far-flung thing. I tried with a college roommate way back in the day, completely flopped. But I've with John's encouragement, with my wife's encouragement, and really pushing me forward, has made me want to try to branch out creatively and put out my own videos that will be similar to the table talks, but a lot longer, a lot better quality. I'm going to take a lot more time with them. They'll come out a lot less frequently, but that's just a consequence of it. So I hope you join me at the table. Again, early 2022, we'll be making an announcement on this channel when my channel is live. We hope to see you there.
Yeah, well said. Well, thank you, Taylor, very much for being possibly the only other person to do a top 5 list this year.
In the world. No other YouTube channels, no other media outlets are doing a top 5. It is only us.
This is exclusive stuff this year. Incredible. Alright, well, thank you guys very much for watching. Stay tuned, there might be more. I don't know. I don't know much right now. It's great.
He never knows much.
Normally I feel like I know more than this, but right now I know very little. It's worrying.
That just feels like 2021 in a nutshell.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of on brand.
Yeah.
Alright, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye!